Let's talk about kerosene pickles. Let's talk about Old Man Rimshaw. Let's talk about Barney's sidecar. It's always fun to hang out with y'all. A loaded goat is causing a stir from the panic he is creating. Come on in, take a seat. It's 2 chairs, no waiting. Sit a spell and tune right in. We are about to start the show. We have a lot to talk about with the folks that we all know. Opie, Andy, and Thelma Lou, Otis, Barney, and the darlings too. This will be amazing. It's 2 chairs, no waiting.
Episode number 844, The Farmer Takes a Wife.
It's 2 chairs, no waiting. It's 2 chairs, no waiting. Let's start the show. 2 chairs.
Hello, everybody. This is 2 Chairs, No Waiting, and I'm the host, Allan Newsome of the podcast. It's great to have you here with me. We are going to be talking about Farmer Takes a Wife tonight. So I know you're going to enjoy it. I always enjoy just talking through an episode. And I know you're going to enjoy it as well. So before we start, since we're doing Farmer Takes a Wife, we're going to do a little bit of trivia. Well, I've been for the last several weeks doing the trivia first. Well, we don't give you the answers, but we go through the trivia questions first. And since it's a Farmer Takes a Wife, we're going to do the MeTV Daily Andy Griffith Show quiz, The Farmer Takes a Wife. So we're going to do the quiz from there. So I've been lazy. I'm not making my own quizzes because these are just fun to do. Okay. All right. So let's get some background music for trivia playing. Let's go here. There we go. And let's do a Farmer Takes a Wife. Now we're going to run through all 10 questions. And then following the episode, after I run through all the stuff, we will go through those same questions and give the answers. Now, the reason I do that is because more than likely during my talking about the episode, I will give away the answers. So why not give you a chance first? So everybody get out a pencil and piece of paper. And if you're driving, just try to remember. Okay. And let's go and do question number 1. What is the farmer's name? Is it Cameron Tucker, Mitchell Pritchett, or Jeff Pruitt? Okay, what's the farmer's name? The farmer is played by Allan Hale. What other famous character does Allan Hale play? Did he play Thurston Howell, Jonas Grumby, or Roy Hinckley? Oh, those are tough. That's tough if you don't know the answers to those. But what famous character did Allan Hale play? Number 3, everybody assumed the farmer would marry. Who did they assume that he would marry? Bertha, Brenda, or Belinda? Okay. Who did they assume that he would marry? All right. Number 4, what nickname does he call Barney by? This farmer. What nickname does he call him by? Does he call him Barnyard Dog? That's a pretty good one. Deputy Fifi, or Little Buddy? All right. What nickname does he call him by? Number 5. Who does he pick out of all the girls at the party? Who does he pick? Emma, Sandy, or Thelma Lou? That's number 5. Number 6. What future catchphrase debuts in this episode? This is a pretty good trivia question. What future catchphrase debuts in this episode? Was it Shazam, Nip it in the bud, or golly? Which one? All right. Number 7. Thelma Lou has a quote here. So it's a quote. Thelma Lou. He can't pick a wife like he would another blank. He can't pick a wife like he would another, was it head of livestock, beast of burden, or a donkey at the market? Can't pick a wife like he would another. All right, number 8. Andy has the farmer practice etiquette using a teacup and a cookie plate, a sugar bowl, or a saucer? Okay. He has him practicing. Number 9. What store does Andy take the farmer shopping at? Where does he take him shopping? Does he go to Mort's clothing store, Weaver's department store, or Carol's of Mayberry? Where does Andy take him shopping? And finally, number 10, who parks illegally at the end of the episode? In the epilogue, who parks illegally? Was it Farley Upchurch, Joe Waters, or Cyrus Tankersley? Who parks illegally at the end of the episode? All right, so those are the questions that you will be expected to know the answer to at the end of the episode. And those are over on MeTV. A link to these will be in our show notes. And if you've been listening to the episodes previous, where I've gone over episodes of the Andy Griffith Show, I've been leaving links to those trivia challenges so you can go back and play later if you'd like to. You can go to MeTV and play them. So thanks to MeTV for doing these. MeTV shows the Andy Griffith Show regularly, so definitely check it out. I do when it's on. Of course, I like Svengoolie too on MeTV, but that's beside the point. So tonight we're talking about A Farmer Takes a Wife. It was the 45th episode of the Andy Griffith Show filmed. And it was if you go over to if you go to mayberry.info, if you go over to mayberry.info and you go to the episode guide, you'll see it there on the left. If you go there, you can go to the season 2 episodes and scroll down a little bit and you would see Farmer Takes a Wife. This was from season 2. It's episode number 13 of the Andy Griffith Show. So Farmer Takes a Wife is that. Well, I just clicked the wrong one, but there we go. So it is the Farmer Takes a Wife, episode 13 of season 2. All right, so it was originally aired on January the 1st, 1962. The writers were Jack Ellenson and Charles Stewart. The director, Bob Sweeney. This is the 45th episode aired and filmed. So again, this one was filmed in order. So if you ever are looking at that, if you look at the MeTV trivia at the top of the page, it'll show you that this is episode number 45 of the Andy Griffith Show as it goes through that information. So definitely do that. So if you can't remember, let's go through the episode here so you'll know what actually went on during this episode. Let me change the background music from trivia to a little bit of just background music. Here we go. There we go. So this, like we just went through all that stuff. The episode opens up with Jeff Pruitt. Now, if you remember Jeff Pruitt, he's a farmer from up in the hills, and he arrives in Mayberry. He's got one thing on his mind. The name of the episode, right? So he pulls up outside the courthouse. Now, Allan Hell played Jeff Pruitt. Of course, there's one of our trivia questions, as I'd already said. And Allan Hell, if you don't remember, he was the skipper on Gilligan's Island. So one of the trivia questions asked, you'd have to know the skipper's real name, is what they were actually asking there. But Andy and Barney are in the courthouse, and some guy's yelling outside, and they're going, who is that? Couldn't be Jeff Pruitt, could it? Big Jeff. Well, it was. So Jeff Pruitt comes in, and Allan Hell is a pretty good-sized man. You remember him from Gilligan's Island, probably, and, of course, from the Andy Griffith Show here, if you're a big fan like we are. But he is really big. He's so big, when he comes in there, he actually picks up Barney. He says, hey, little buddy. And he picks him up and is shaking him around. So, of course, later on Gilligan's Island, that was also a catchphrase. He always called Gilligan little buddy. So I wonder if that's just Allan Hell, if he did call people little buddy, because he was a pretty good sized guy. Because when you see them on the episode he's standing beside Andy. Andy was not, he was not short. And Allan Hell was bigger than Andy. He was larger, both girth wise. He wasn't fat, but he was big. and he was also a little bit taller than Andy. So anyway, he's in town. He's come into town, and his goal there is he's ready to get married, and he thinks he's just going to be able to spend a day or so in Mayberry, look around for the prospects, and he'll be able to just pick one and take her back up to the mountain, and it'll be done. We'll be set. And so Andy tells him, hey, no, you can't pick out a girl like that, and you got to kind of see if they like you too. And so he starts talking, and Barney says, well, hey, why don't we help him? We could help him. And Andy says, well, I don't know about that. I don't know if we're in that business of helping people find a bride. And Barney said, well, while we're out picking up criminals, we can look around and see if there's a girl that Jeff might like. Well, Jeff appreciates it, and he hits Barney on the back to thank him, and Barney basically falls into Andy's arms right there in the courthouse as Jeff laughs, and he starts to walk out of the courthouse to go and little prospecting while they're getting their information together about who he might enjoy meeting. So just a little bit later, Barney had left. He wasn't there. And Opie comes walking in. Andy's sitting by the window reading the newspaper. And he comes in. He basically tells him, hey, Pa, guess who I just saw? I saw Jeff Pruitt. He said, oh, really? Yeah. He was on the corner picking up girls. And Andy says, how do you know about picking up girls? He said, what's there to know? You just pick them up and set them back down. He says, is that what Jeff's doing? He says, yes. Excuse me, ma'am. I was just checking on your weight. Of course, Andy immediately realizes, hey, whoa, this is a problem. Because Jeff is standing around somewhere in Mayberry picking up women on the street corner. So he heads out the door. And as he heads out the door, it stays with Opie there in the courthouse. And Opie goes, imagine caring how much a girl weighs. Then we see Jeff Pruitt out on the street corner, and ladies are walking by, and he'll say, excuse me, man, and he'll just lift them up, above his head height. He was a pretty strong guy, and the ladies were pretty small, but he was definitely lifting them up. And Andy comes up, Jeff, you can't do that. And he does it one more time right there in front of Andy. And he's like, put her down, Jeff. So you can't do that, Jeff, is what Andy's telling him. And Jeff is confused about it. And he says, Jeff, just come on over to our house and have dinner or lunch, and we'll figure out something. Maybe Aunt B's got an idea. And he says, well, I kind of hate to leave my post. There's a lot of prospects coming by here. Can you imagine? Would they even do this episode today? Would they do this? Because would this be offensive? I don't know. I can't believe it is offensive. But Jeff, he starts to take off after another girl, and Andy stops him. And then they show back up we're in Andy's kitchen, and Andy and Aunt B and Jeff have eaten lunch. And Aunt B says something along the lines. They say, well, Jeff, I'm sorry. I only had one leg of lamb. And he says, oh, don't worry about it, Aunt B. Sometimes I like to have a light lunch so I can really chow down at supper. So he ate a whole leg of lamb, basically. Aunt B and Andy ate a little, but he ate it all, basically. So anyway, Barney comes running in and says, hey, I got an idea. Thelma Lou is having a hen party over at her place tonight, and there'll be all kinds of ladies there, Jeff, and you can just go there and have you pick. And he says, well, wait a minute, if it's an all lady party, how are we going to get in there? And he said, I already worked it out with Thelma Lou. It's all good. So Jeff picks Barney up again, and Barney's going, let me down. So he puts him down. The scene cuts to them driving up into the front of Thelma Lou's house, and they get out. Jeff he's kind of cleaned up at this point. He's been dressed as a farmer previously, with his overalls and his cowboy hat and everything on. Well, now he's got on a button-up shirt and, slacks and stuff. He's dressed up. And they come up to the front of the house, and he says, Andy, I can hear him giggling in there. Well, Barney goes around the back to knock on the window to tell Thelma Lou, hey, we're here. Is it okay if we bring him in now? And she said, I don't know about this, Barney. I'm not sure. And he says, well, it'll be fine, honey. Let me take care of it. And so he goes back to the front. Basically, Jeff and Andy and Barney knock on the front door, and they go in, and there's all these ladies in there. So Jeff begins to wander throughout the living room of Thelma Lou's house, looking at and talking to all the ladies. And, you know, he seems to be behaving pretty well, in my opinion, if I watch it. And Barney and Andy are pretty pleased with themselves that Jeff will be able to find him a bride, or at least somebody that he might want to date or something. So Thelma Lou comes walking in with some hors d'oeuvres and drinks and stuff like that to sit down, and she speaks to Jeff, and and then sets everything down. Jeff continues to walk around the room, and he goes back over to Andy and Barney says, "Would you find somebody you're interested in?" He said, "Yeah, that lady right over there." "Oh yeah, really?" And when they show the camera shot, there is a lady standing between, in the main part of the camera. And she's not as small as Thelma Lou. I'll just put it that way. And Thelma Lou is behind her pouring drinks for the guest that she has at her house. And he says, that right there. And Barney says, "You sure?" He goes, "Okay, well, let's go over here and meet her." And she moves away from Thelma Lou as they begin to approach. And so Barney tries to bring Jeff over to speak to this lady. And Jeff just heads straight toward Thelma Lou and starts walking around her and looking at her. And Barney's going, no, Jeff, no, Jeff, no. And Andy is just standing off in the distance grinning because he sees what's going on, that Jeff likes Thelma Lou. So he came to Mayberry. He picks out Barney's girl. And, of course, Barney... he didn't like it. He can't believe it. Cuts to the next morning. They're in the courthouse, and he says, "I can't believe this. I just can't believe it. Show me somewhere in the sheriff's handbook where it says we're supposed to help people get a wife. Where are we supposed to do that?" And Andy says, "Well, Barney, it was." He said, "I told you, Barney." He said, "I just can't. I've never been more disappointed in you, Andy." Andy's like, "Why are you disappointed in me?" He said, "Because you didn't stop me." Andy says, "I couldn't stop you." Then Barney goes, "Yeah, sure. Just pass it on, pass the buck. Just pass the buck." Don't take it. So Barney, is all his fault. But when Andy says, "I couldn't have stopped you," he's basically done, yeah, just pass the buck. Fine. So Barney takes no responsibility at all for this, even though it was all his idea. He got Jeff to go over to Thelma Lou's. He offered to help Jeff find these ladies. It's all his fault. And so he's all upset about it, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'll just go over and I'll go talk to him, and I'll tell him." And he says, "Yeah, where do you think Jeff is?" Andy says, "Well, if I had to guess, he's over at Thelma Lou's." So Barney heads over there. Jeff is really at Thelma Lou's. He goes up to the door at Thelma Lou's house and rings the bell, and he gives her some flowers. And Jeff's being pretty nice. He says, "I don't expect you to agree to marry me the first time we ever have a meeting or anything. So I'll leave and I'll come back, and that'll be our second one." Thelma Lou is trying, honestly, to let him know, "Hey, I can't. I'm already, Barney is my guy. She can't ever get it out, though, because Jeff is persistent." So Barney comes driving up, and about the same time Barney comes driving up, Jeff has given Thelma Lou the flowers. She says, "Yes, they're pretty." So he picks her up like he's picking up all those ladies on the streets, and he's spinning her around on Thelma Lou's front porch right there. Right there. And Barney sees it looking around the hedges. And so he just stands there. Jeff sets Thelma Lou down, and she goes into the house. And Barney's standing there, and Jeff comes walking down the steps from Thelma Lou's house. And Barney goes, "Pruitt!" And he just points at the ground in front of him. And so Jeff comes over to talk to him. He tells Jeff, "You can't have her." "Why not?" "Well, she's my girl." "Have you asked her to marry her?" "No." "Are you engaged?" "No." "Well, then it seems she's more my girl than your girl." He said, well, you really had me worried there for a minute, Barney. And he pats Barney on the shoulder and knocks Barney into the shrubbery. And Jeff goes running off and gets in his car and leaves. Well, Barney goes on in to see Thelma Lou and says, this has got to stop. I forbid it. This has got to stop. And she said, well, I tried to tell him, Barney. She said, you've got to nip it in the bud. So, as part of our trivia tonight, this was the first time Barney used that catchphrase, nip it in the bud. So he was telling Thelma Lou she had to nip this. You got to nip it in the bud. And then he marches out because he is told his woman, you got to nip it. You got to stop this. So he's back in the courthouse telling Andy what had happened. Sometimes you just got to be a little rough. I got to tell him, just tell him how it is. and lay the law down. So Andy's looking out the window of the courthouse. He says, well, if you laid the law down, what's this out here? Well, they look out there and Jeff Pruitt is walking Thelma Lou from the grocery and carrying her bags. So Barney's like, no. He's heading to the door. He's going to go out and fight Jeff Pruitt. Jeff Pruitt knocks Barney down just by patting him on the shoulders or the back. And Andy's like, I can't let you fight him. Andy, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. So he keeps trying to go out the door, and Andy just grabs him by one arm and pulls him back. Andy, he can't even get away from Andy. And Jeff Pruitt is bigger than Andy. And Barney's just like, I got to do it, Andy. And Andy keeps pulling him back. And Andy basically orders him. It's an order. You cannot fight Jeff Pruitt. And so Barney's upset and mad. It cuts to the scene where now Andy's over at Thelma Lou's talking to her about it. And she says, well, Andy, Barney's girl, Jeff Pruitt's not going to steal me from him. And they come up with this plan, basically, because Jeff, he wouldn't be able to survive living in the city because he's a farmer. So that against him. So it cuts to a scene with him talking to Andy over in the courthouse. And Andy begins to tell him, you got to be gentle with Thelma Lou. You like her, don't you? Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, she's used to being treated delicate and, you take her by the hand and you're gentle. And if you feel real bold, you kiss her on the back of the hand. He goes, that's bold. Andy goes, yeah. He said, plus you're going to have to learn some refinement and stuff. So he heads over to his house, and Aunt Bee helps him try to teach Jeff Pruitt how to be more refined and gentlemanly. So they have a coffee cup or a teacup, maybe is what it is. I'm not sure. A coffee cup on one knee and a cookie plate. That was the other one. The cookie plate, because the actual question was it involved a saucer, and there is a saucer under the coffee cup, so that was a little bit tricky to me. But it was a cookie plate and a cup, a teacup. So he had those sitting one on each knee, and he was supposed to learn how to take it and pick it up. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know how to do this either. I don't know what he was learning. I probably need some refining. You can ask my wife. She would probably agree with that statement. But he can't do it. He drops them in the floor. Well, then Andy's going to say, okay, we got to get dressed up too. So he's taking him over to Carol's of Mayberry. Carol's of Mayberry. It's a men's clothing store. And he goes in to buy or help Jeff buy a suit. Well, it cuts to Thelma Lou's house, and Thelma Lou is answering the door as the door is bells ringing. And she opens the door, and there's Jeff in a suit that is at least a size or two too small. But he does mention that it was the biggest one they had. He is dressed up. He's got a suit on, a tie, a vest, a hat. He's trying. He is trying, and he's a very good guy, by the way. Good man. And he comes in, Thelma Lou. He's trying to please her. So she says, well, you'd like some supper? And he goes, oh, I'm starving. So they sit down, and she's got this finger food plate sitting there. And he goes, honey, somebody tore up your food into little bitty pieces. He says, no, that's finger food. And she gives him one. He likes it. Yeah, he says, well, this will be good before supper. And she says, oh, no, this is supper. And he says, what? She says, I like to watch my weight or something like that. I forgot exactly how she says it. But he says, honey, there's not enough here to get skinny on. So, but she gives him the whole tray to eat and have for supper. Well, Andy comes barging in and says, I found it. I found you a house. There's 3 houses available. You can pick from any one of them. And Jeff says, what do I need a house in town for? I got a farm. Thelma Lou says, well, I am not a farm girl. I can't live out on the farm. I wouldn't be able to do that. And she said, of course you would. And plus there's several jobs here in town that you could get, Jeff. Andy lists off several jobs. And Thelma Lou says, yep, that one's the one we should pick. The shoe salesman, I believe it was. And I believe that's the one we'll take, Jeff. And Jeff gets mad. He said, Thelma Lou, I think you're trying to change me. He said, and he basically stands there. There's no Pruitt's ever wore a tie, and he rips it off, or a suit, and he pulls off his jacket, and he's mad. He said, I'm just going to go back to Bertha. At least she accepts me for who I am. And Thelma Lou's acting shocked, and Jeff's upset that she's trying to change him, and he's about to leave. Well, Barney bursts in. Barney's still upset that Jeff's stealing his girl. And he comes up to him and says, I'm going to fight you, Jeff. I'm going to fight you. And he goes, I don't want to fight you, Barney. He said, well, then just get out of here then if you don't want to fight me. And he goes, I'm leaving. And so he leaves. And Barney kind of follows him toward the door and then stops and looks at the door and looks back at Thelma Lou. And then, of course, he gets that so proud of himself look going. And he heads back over to Thelma Lou and Andy says, well, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, or something like that. I don't think I got that exactly quoted correctly. And he says, there's another thing they say, to the winners go the spoils. And so he grabs Thelma Lou and kisses her. He and Andy are then the next scene. This is the epilogue, standing outside the courthouse. And Barney says, yeah, that's just the way I like to handle it. No violence, just, show your authority and tell them to move along like that. And Andy says, well, that's good. Well, as they're standing there talking, a car pulls up in front of the courthouse where it clearly says sheriff parking only. And the guy parks in it and gets out and starts to walk around. He goes, he knows better than that. So Barney walks up to him and says, hey, Joe, you can't park here. Get that car out of here. He said, what'd you say, Barney? I said, get that car out of here. And he didn't like the way Barney was talking to him at all. And he's bigger than Barney. Get that car out of here now. And he goes, what did you say? And then you can see Andy standing behind Barney going, So Joe goes, well, all right, Barney. And he gets back in it and moves. And he goes, Barney walks back to Andy and says, yeah, just show them your authority and they'll just accept it and move on. And that is how that episode ends. So there you go, folks. That is the Farmer Takes a Wife. So now we are going to go through some of the odd facts known by few on this particular episode. So let me get a little bit of music for that. Let's do this one. A little background music for odd facts known by few. So hopefully you're going to know some of these. Allan, as I already mentioned, who is Jeff Pruitt in this episode. He is better known by everybody as the skipper from Gilligan's Island. I mean, he is definitely. And I did check because I had a suspicion because I watched Perry Mason. The lady who played Della Street, Perry's secretary, her name is Barbara Hell. And I actually saw Allan Hell and Barbara Hell in a movie together. And I started going, oh my goodness, are they brother and sister? Are they related? They're not. They weren't related at all. So just so you know, they're not. I mean, I don't know if that's an odd fact known by a few, but it's something you might want to know. So Jeff repeatedly calls Barney little buddy, as I mentioned earlier, and he even picks him up about half the time when he's doing it. And he calls him little buddy, just like he called Gilligan on Gilligan's Island, little buddy. So this is the one episode when Andy takes Jeff Pruitt to go get his suit at Carol's of Mayberry. When that happens, Andy and Jeff, as they walk up to the building, a man comes walking out of Carol's of Mayberry, and the man who is carrying a package, looks like a wrapped box or maybe a shoe box, that is Andy Griffith's father, Carl Griffith. So if you're watching this episode, pay attention. This is Carl Griffith. That is the man coming out of Carol's of Mayberry. There's no audio, or there's just music playing at this point. But that's Andy's daddy. He's seen exiting the clothing store. It's the only time Andy's dad was ever on an episode of the Andy Griffith Show. But there he is. Definitely something to be aware of. So there's an error, or I guess it's an error is what you'd say it. Thelma Lou is in her house at the hen party when that's going on. So Thelma Lou comes walking in and presents, the food that she's carrying and everything. She has that with her as she walks in, and she's doing that. Well, as that scene progresses, she actually leaves the room and she's gone, and Jeff walks back over. He's looked around at everybody. She's gone back into the kitchen area, dining area, I guess, of her house. And Jeff walks over to talk to Andy and Barney, standing right there in front of the dining room, kitchen area of Thelma Lou's house. And they say, Jeff, do you see anybody you would be interested in? Well, when it flips back to the next shot, Thelma Lou is in the living room with the other ladies. So that's a continuity error. So something to watch for if you'd like to. Thelma Lou had left the room and suddenly was back in it with no time having passed. So there you go. So that's where she was. She was going out into the kitchen to get some coffee, and then she's just all of a sudden she's back in the room with the ladies as well. As I mentioned, this is the episode where Barney first uses his catchphrase, nip it in the bud, and it happens while he's talking to Thelma Lou at her house about Jeff Pruitt. So there's something for you to watch for. And the only other thing I have, I don't know if we can get this or not. It's toward the end of Barney's tirade in the courthouse. It's the wide shot. I believe it's the one where he's complaining to Andy that he didn't. Let me just read it to you because I'm not sure I know when this is. It says, toward the ends of the tirade that Barney's given in the courthouse, the wide shot shows Andy putting his left hand behind his neck. But in close-ups, it shows his left hand on the back of the chair. So that would have been after Barney and Thelma Lou had been after Jeff had already talked to them. So in the long shots, you see Andy put his hand on the back of his neck, but then in the close-up shots, his hand's not on the back of his neck anymore. So that's what it's saying there. So it happens back and forth that Andy's hand's on the back of his neck, and then it isn't. So you'd have to watch for that. That's just another little gotcha. But that's it. That is all I have for you this week from Odd Facts Known by Few. I couldn't find any more. So if there are more, let me know. Let me know that. That would be great. All right. So next, we're going to talk about the trivia. So let's head back to our trivia and run through the answers. Okay. So if you guys are ready. I was given a note saying I didn't tell who the executive producer of this episode is. Well, that's it. Tonight's episode of Two Chairs No Waiting is the executive producer is the folks from the Mayberry Meetup. That's right. That's who it is. It's all of our friends from the Mayberry Meetup, which is coming up really soon. So let me go ahead and talk about that since that came up while I'm talking. The 13th annual Mayberry Meetup is coming up. That's right. It's coming up in about a month, a little less, on the 18th and 19th of July. Now, if you would like to attend, this is a free event, and it's in Mount Airy, North Carolina at the Mayberry Motor Inn Gazebo. I do have links in our show notes for you to be able to sign up to come to the Mayberry Meetup. You don't have to sign up. It's just, it would be nice if I knew you were coming, because then I'd know you're coming, and I'd be able to give you some information if you need it. So head over to our show notes, and you'll be able to see it. And you'll be able to see that there's a lot of things happening during the Mayberry Meetup that you'll find out if you sign up. I'll be able to email you a list of all the different things that you'll have available to be able to do during the weekend. But the main things that we do is meet on Friday and Saturday night at the gazebo and watch episodes of the Andy Griffith Show and just fellowship until it's dark, because you can't show them until it's dark because they're on a screen. If you don't know, we show them on a projector screen out in the open like a drive-in movie or something. So definitely come. We usually have, in the last few years, we've had 150, 130 people showing up and enjoying each other's company. So definitely consider that. If you'd like to be a part of it, we'd love to have you. Like I said, if you sign up, you'll get an email that will show you all the link information. So you'll be able to find out the links to show up, and that same email too. The information from that email are available on our show notes at the Two Chairs No Waiting website. So go over and check it out. Okay. All right. So next up, we got our trivia questions, as I said. So let's go to that. So there's our MeTV trivia questions. So we already went over them. So here comes the answers. So if you're ready, let's see how you did. And the farmer's name, what's the farmer's name? Surely you got that, because I talked about it about 5 times, I guess, during the podcast. So the farmer's name, is it Cameron Tucker, Mitchell Pritchett, or Jeff Pruitt? Well, it's Jeff Pruitt. And if you got that, basically 92% of the people that take this trivia challenge have gotten that correct. So you should be in a pretty good company there. The farmer is played by Allan. What other famous character does Hell play? Well, we know it's the skipper, but what's the skipper's name? Is it Thurston Howell, Jonas Grumby, or Roy Hinckley? Do you know? The skipper's name on Gilligan's Island is Jonas Grumby. Only 66% of the people got that right. And I'm pretty sure Roy Hinckley is the professor's name. That's the professor. So there you go. You learn stuff about all kinds of classic TV here on the podcast. I'm pretty sure that's the professor's name. I may be incorrect about that, but Jonas Grumby is the skipper. So there he is. So there's question 2. Number 3. Everybody assumed the farmer would marry who? Who did they think? Would it be Bertha, Brenda, or Belinda? Well, Bertha is who it was. I mentioned it during the show, so hopefully you got that one correct as well. 81% of the people got it right. Oh, I didn't say 66% of the people got Jonas Grumby. So a lot of people know that's a skipper. That's good. All right. So Bertha, 81% got that one right. What nickname does he call Barney? Well, we talked about that too. Was it Barnyard Doggy, Deputy Fifi, or Little Buddy? Well, it was Little Buddy. Little Buddy, basically 91% got that one right. Number 5. Who does he pick out of the girls at the party? Well, that was the whole purpose of me going through the episode, wasn't it? So it wasn't Emma or Sandy. It was Thelma Lou. And wow, 97.98. So basically 98% of the people got that one correct. So good job, people. What future catchphrase debuts in this episode? Well, I told you the answer on that. It wasn't Shazam or Golly, because Gomer wasn't even on this episode. It was Nip It in the Bud. And basically 88% of the people got that one right. So how did you do on that? Number 7. Thelma Lou said he can't pick a wife like he would another, what? Another head of livestock? A beast of burden, or a donkey at the market? What did she say? You can't pick a wife like you would another head of livestock, beast of burden? Or the answer, a head of livestock. 89% got that one right. 89%, pretty good. So, okay, Andy has the farmer practice etiquette using a teacup and a cookie plate, a sugar bowl, or a saucer. See, this was a little hard to me because he had a saucer under the teacup. He was sitting on a saucer, but he also had a cookie plate. So cookie plate was the answer they were looking for. And if you look, I would kind of have to, this is tough because only 27% of the people said it was a cookie plate, but 70% said it was a saucer because he did have a teacup and a saucer on one leg and a cookie plate on the other. So I'm going to give you some credit if you said either of those. Okay. Cause that's hard. I think that one's tough, but it was definitely a cookie plate was probably what they were looking for. Cause they mentioned cookie plate during the episode. They actually said it. So, all right. Number 9, what store does Andy take the farmer, Jeff, shopping at? Where does he take him? Does he take him to Mort's clothing store, Weaver's department store, or Carol's of Mayberry? Well, I mentioned this just a few seconds ago. So it was Carol's of Mayberry. And if you got it right, only 11% of people got that right. Carol's of Mayberry. Most people guessed Weaver's department store. And wow, ouch. But that's the answer. And that was where we saw Andy Griffith's dad walking out of the store. All right. So this one was really hard because I don't think most people would know this. Who parks illegally there in front of the courthouse at the end of the episode? Was it Farley Upchurch, Joe Waters, or Cyrus Tankersley? Well, Andy mentions Joe Waters knows better than to park there. So it was Joe Waters. But only 35% of people got that right. So that was tough. Very tough one. How did you do? How did you do on these? These were pretty tough. I think those are pretty hard trivia questions. I got to give you that. All right, so let's do some extra trivia because we got some from Paul Mulick that's not related to this. The topic of Paul's trivia is we all have to go sometime. Okay, so we did several questions last week, 5 of them, and we got 5 more this week. And we got 5 questions, but they're worth 7 points. So if you're ready, here we go. We got a few more questions. We're going to do these and then give you the answer. So, all right. Number 1, a group of gossipy women once spread the rumor that Barney shot himself in the chest. What really happened to him? Okay. A group of gossipy women spread the rumor that Barney Fife had shot himself in the chest. They even called the courthouse to report it, and Barney's one they told. What really happened to him? What really happened to him? All right, so this, I can give you a hint for the episode. By the way, Paul Mulick provided these trivia questions. Thank you to Paul Mulick. The episode was Those Gossiping Men. Remember that one. Okay, so what did he really do to him? He cut his finger while he's taking his gun apart. He went to get some mercurochrome or something for his finger. But he cut his finger. That's what he did. All right. So number 2, it's worth 2 points. Barney claims that he first met Thelma Lou when and where. Now, this is actually said in the episode. Barney claims that he met Thelma Lou when and where. So you get 1 point for when and 1 point for where. Kentucky Mike in our chat room just definitely got that one. Good job, Kentucky Mike. He got both points. So there you go. The answer, this is Barney's physical, by the way, if that helps you. So I knew and would have gotten, he met her at Wilton Blair's funeral. Now, of course, this is a problem because later on they went to, they had a class reunion and she showed up because she was in the same class with Barney and Andy. So they've known each other longer than that. But that's not what was said in earlier episodes. He met her in 1960 at Wilton Blair's funeral. That's where it was. All right, so that was worth 2 points. So you get 1 point for either. So if you got 1960, you get a point. Wilton Bear's Funeral, you also got a point. Okay, so there you go. Number three. What's the name of Mayberry's? What's the name of Mayberry's undertaker? What's the name of Mayberry's undertaker? Don't really have a good hint on this one because it's from multiple episodes. What's the name of Mayberry's undertaker? Well, now you will admit that when your profession, it can't be disturbing your customers too much. I'm sure I'm not getting that right, but that's close. His name, for 1 point, is Orville Monroe. Orville Monroe. Yes, he was a TV repairman. The shop was right beside Floyd's Barbershop. Right beside it. All right. Number 9, worth 2 points. Worth 2 points. Who came to Mayberry's courthouse to report a murder, and who was the alleged victim? Who came to the Mayberry courthouse to report a murder, and who was the alleged victim? Okay, so you got to give me both. One, you get 1 point for who came to report the murder, and another point for who was the victim. All right, I'll give you a hint. This is from the episode Ellie Comes to Town. And folks in our chat room are definitely getting this one right. The person who came to report the murder was Emma Brand. I want to report a murder. Oh, well, who was murdered? Me. So he reported that she had been murdered. So the answer for both is Emma Brand. If you said Emma Watson, we'll take that too. But it was actually Emma Brand in this particular episode because she was Emma. If you just said Emma, I'll give you that too. So Emma, it was Emma. She came in to report a murder of herself being murdered. That was worth 2 points. All right, finally, the final question. Who, after dying, was left alone on a mountaintop without a proper headstone? Who, after dying, was left alone on a mountaintop, or a mountain, not a mountaintop. So let me say it again. Who, after dying, was left alone on a mountain without a proper headstone? This one's a little bit hard. We can't give you an episode. Can't give you that. All right. Do you know this one? This one's a little tough. I don't see anybody just jumping in with the answer here. Who, after dying, was left alone on a mountain without a proper headstone? It was said on the episode. It was talked about. It was said. There was words. This was words. Okay. I'm not seeing anybody in our chat rooms getting it. Did you get it? Here, let me give you a little hint. The words would be, now Dooley's on a mountain, he lies there all alone. They put a jug beside him and a barrel for his stone. So it was Dooley. Dooley was who it was. Dooley was, after he died, he was left on a mountain without a proper headstone. So Dooley. Oh, did you get that one? Very good, Paul. Paul even had me have to try to sing. Yeah, so it was Dooley. Yep. All right. So there you go. That was pretty fun. Great job, Paul Mulick. Thank you very much for those trivia questions. And thank you all for playing along. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I do have a little story I want to tell you. I know we're running a little late here with the podcast, but I want to tell you, the other day I was driving home from, I'd actually been to Nashville, Tennessee. Jan and I had been up to Nashville, Tennessee to go and visit the Andy chapter, Jim and Mary Clark. We went to visit them and got to spend the day with them. Had a great time. Well, on the drive home, I had somebody start texting me. And so I was doing hands-free. It was all hands-free. I was driving, but it was popping up on and telling me what they were saying. And basically what it was is a quote challenge. Basically, they were doing quotes of like, oh no, if you come up here, it's goodbye, Al. So it was quotes from the Andy Griffith Show, and turns out we were basically doing the episode, The Convicts at Large, and they would do a quote, and I would do a quote, and then they would do a quote, and then I would do a quote. And so almost the entire drive from Nashville, Tennessee, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours drive, 2.5 hour drive, we were going back and forth. They would give me a quote, and I would give them a quote back. And then they would jump back with a quote, and I jump back with a quote. If you've never done that, it makes time pass very quickly. The problem I had is I couldn't remember what quotes had already been said. At some point, we had said things. And so at some point in there, I gave a quote, and he goes, "Come on, man, I already did that one. Scroll back up, and you'll see it." He said, "If we're going to do this, let's do it right," which is also a quote from that episode when Barney was dancing with Maud. He is so good at these quotes, and I had such a fun time doing that. And hopefully you might be able to do that with it. I don't want to name drop here, but he was been on a podcast with us, and he is so good at these trivia quotes, or just quoting from the Andy Griffith Show. And I want to give a shout out and thank T. Graham Brown for just going back and forth with me. I had such a good time doing that. It was so fun driving back from Nashville and doing quotes from the Andy Griffith Show by text, just one back, boom, 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 back and forth each other. You ought to do that with some Mayberry fan that you're friends with, and just enjoy it. That was a lot of fun, and it certainly made the time pass really quickly. So I just wanted to tell that story, and I'd forgotten to tell it the last few weeks. It's been a couple of weeks since it's happened, but wow, what a great time. Yeah, I told myself not to take the shortcut. I wouldn't listen. I wouldn't listen to myself. Yeah, there were so many great quotes from that episode. We're home. There's so many. Maud, Hal, if those hamburgers are ruined, I'm not responsible. So what a great time I had. Jan was laughing at me just because I was laughing at every quote that came to me. I would laugh, and I'd be, I got to come up with another one. He beat me, by the way. He won. I declare T. Graham Brown was the winner because I repeated at least two, and I didn't know the rules at the time, but I did repeat them, and I didn't care. It was so fun. I had a great time. But T. Graham was the champion. Yay and verily. Thank you very much. I had a great time. So, all right, guys, that is all I've got for you. I hope you've had a good time being here on the podcast with me. It's always fun to just talk about the Andy Griffith Show and visit with one another. Oh, one other thing everybody needs to know. If you want to give me a call, the phone number has changed. I have had to change the phone number. We are no longer at 888-684-8415. Don't even try it. It won't work. But I do have a new one, and it's, so if you want to give me a call, I'd love to hear from you. It's 256-531-9526. Oh, but it's on the website, so you can go there and check it out if you want to. But I'd love to hear from you, and leave me a voicemail at 256-513-9526. It's going to be hard to get used to saying that. I've been saying the other one since 2008. Oh my goodness. But they went up on the price to like $9 a month for me to have I'm like, forget that. So there's the number. And if you forget it, you can go to the Two Chairs No Waiting website and click on the contact, and the information is there. It's also in the show notes of every episode. And I went onto the website and changed the old number to the new one. So it's all there. Love to hear from you. You can also email me at floyd@imayberry.com. Again, head over to twochairsnowaiting.com, and all that information is there. Thanks for being here with me, and we will see you next time right here on Two Chairs.